It is the middle of autumn 1982 in the South Atlantic. The eyes of the world are on the armed conflict between the Argentine Republic, a developing country, and the United Kingdom of Great Britain, a world power that has all the capabilities of NATO. They dispute the sovereignty of an archipelago whose largest territory is the Malvinas Islands. North of them, HMS Coventry is positioned, a destroyer escorted by the broadsword frigate. Her mission is to protect the British invasion fleet, about to disembark in the Bay of San Carlos, against the attack of the Argentine fighter bombers. The tactic works. By launching her Sea Dart missiles, the vessel manages to shoot down two A-4 Skyhawks of the Argentine Air Force, claiming the lives of Captains Hugo Angel del Valle Palaver and Jorge Osvaldo Garcia. It is the morning of May 25th, the most important national date in Argentina. Aboard the Coventry, morale is high. A feeling of confidence reigns among the British. No one in the crew suspects the tragic outcome that will occur within a few hours. But what circumstances sealed the fate of a ship that had technologically advanced missiles? And how was it that a group of aircraft in their last days of service were able to defeat her? Join us in this new episode of Military History to relive one of the most glorious pages in the history of the Argentine Air Force, the sinking of the HMS Coventry. Are you ready? Then prepare to travel back in time. HMS Coventry was a Sheffield-class destroyer destined for air defense, commissioned into the South Atlantic conflict in the last days of April 1982. Her contribution to the Malvinas War was considerable. The ship was designed to operate with the GWS-30 Sea Dart surface-to-air missile system, through which it was able to count 3 kills during the war. The Sea Dart, operational since 1973, is a medium-range missile capable of hitting targets 56 kilometers away and at altitudes above 10,000 meters. With a speed higher than Mach 2.5, its engine remains on throughout the flight, allowing optimal maneuverability in its final phase over long distances. However, its surveillance system is ineffective at tracking targets flying at very low altitudes. This deficiency would be crucial in the sinking of HMS Coventry. On the morning of May 25, 1982, a climate of joy ran through the British crew. Meanwhile, 4 pilots from Group 5 of Argentine Air Force fighters met at the Rio Gallegos base. Under barely concealed tension, they receive orders at noon to attack the destroyer, located near Bourbon Island. Captain Pablo Carballo, head of the squadron, was flooded with anguish at the possibility of losing one of his men. They were First Lieutenant Mariano da Cobra Velasco, Lieutenant Carlos Alfredo Rinque, nicknamed Iron Numeral by Carballo, and Ensign Jorge Barrionuevo, the youngest pilot, only 23 years old. The first hours of the day had been miserable, and the pilots knew that the mission would be almost suicidal. They only had the possibility of honoring their fallen comrades as consolation, precisely on the most important national day. Meanwhile, what was going on aboard the Coventry? Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Miller receives, only 15 minutes after noon, a chilling message from the undercover Secret Service. The attack is imminent. 2 hours later, 4 dots appear on their radars, 420 kilometers away. They are the Skyhawks of Group 5, approaching at a speed of 800 kilometers per hour. Armed with Mk-17 454-kilogram unguided bombs and 4 Mk-82 227-kilogram retardant bombs. Although dated, The Skyhawks were valuable for their maneuverability and low-altitude speed, a virtue of which both sides were aware. But what chances did the Argentine squad really have? Carballo and his men knew that they could be detected through radars. There was only one option left: to fly as close to the surface as possible. In the case of the Zeus section, made up of Carballo and Rinke, this meant skimming the ocean along the coastline. The altitude was so low that the salt covered the cockpit and forced the pilots to press their helmets against the vibrating hull to get some visibility. On the other hand, the Volcano section of Velasco and Barrio Nuevo headed east, flying over Gran Malvina Island, exposing themselves to the elevations of its terrain. At that moment, panic swept the joy aboard the Coventry. The 4 dots had disappeared from the radar. The Sea Dart system was unable to detect the enemy. Shortly before 3 in the afternoon, the 2 Skyhawks were already in visual range. The survival of the Coventry depended on the inexperience of the Argentine pilots and her escort, the HMS Broadsword. But the frigate's Seawolf short-range missile system was down. Dodging cannon fire, and to the astonishment of the Coventry crew, the Zeus section changed direction and headed for the Broadsword. They unleashed a bomb that bounced off the sea and tore through the deck of the frigate, destroying a Sea-Link helicopter in its path before plunging into the water without detonating. Just when it seemed that the 2 British ships had been lucky, the radar showed the 2 points of the Volcano section, which were only a minute from their position. The Broadsword had reactivated the Seawolf system and was ready to lock in targets, but it was unable to fire due to the turn of the Coventry, which had positioned herself directly in the line of fire. The destroyer's captain, Hart Dyke, dismissed the Sea Harrier's intervention in the counteroffensive. He thought they wouldn't make it in time and feared friendly fire from the Broadsword. He decided to launch a Sea Dart, which took a long time to level and passed 300 meters over the Volcano section. Rinke's reaction upon seeing the steel was memorable. What had happened? In a defensive maneuver, the Coventry had turned sharply to a better launch position, exposing her port side. Cobra Velasco then gained altitude, and 50 meters before surpassing the destroyer, he dropped 3 Mk-82 bombs, 2 of which doomed the ship. One of them exploded inside the computer room, rendering it incapacitated. The other entered the forward engine room, causing the ship to begin listing to port. The final blow was delivered by Barrio Nuevo, the Kid, whose bomb caused the critical damage that broke the fire barrier between the front and rear engine, leaving the ship at the mercy of the fire. Between frantic, evasive maneuvers, the crew set their course to return. Within 20 minutes, HMS Coventry had been abandoned and completely listed. 19 crew members died and 30 were injured. Soon after, she was swallowed by the Atlantic Ocean. Despite having provided adequate anti-aircraft cover, having shot down 3 Argentine aircraft and sacrificed, exposing their position, no HMS Coventry crew member received decorations for their bravery. For the Argentine pilots, there was no greater glory than celebrating a successful hunt on May 25th. If you like the story of the sinking of the Coventry, we invite you to share your thoughts. Was the captain's decision to dismiss the Sea Harriers right? Leave us your comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications to learn about many more military events that left their mark on history. Thank you very much for joining us, and until the next video.